Hey everybody, welcome to this walkthrough for installing WordPress on your web server. A couple of things before we get started to make sure you have everything you need to keep going. You're going to need, obviously, a web host with access to some sort of control panel. This demo uses the cPanel control panel system. Other web hosts may use something else, but generally they all work based on the same principles, so you should still be able to follow along using your control panel even if it's not cPanel. Another thing you'll be needing is an FTP transfer application like FileZilla. It's free, you can download it, it's fairly small in size and very powerful. You can also use other applications that work well for you, Dreamweaver, Qt FTP, whatever. Again, the principles are the same. As long as you have an application that can handle FTP transfers, you're in business. I also suggest having a little notepad window open or a notebook that you can physically write something into. We're going to be keeping track of some database names and information during this process, which it's critical not to lose or forget. What else? And of course, we're going to need a copy of WordPress that we're going to be installing on our server. We'll get to that later on in the demo. First things first, your web host, make sure you log into your control panel. So usually it's your domain name / cPanel. It might be something else. Please check your web hosting documentation for that. Once you log in, it should look something like this. There you go. Once on this page, you're looking for something specific, primarily the database section. The order in which we have to do this is we create a database, we create a user, assign it to the database, upload our WordPress files to the server via FTP, and then proceed with the installation of WordPress, which is pretty much a wizard type approach. And once we have everything set up properly, it should be pretty painless. So let's get going. We'll start off with MySQL databases. Let's create a new one. So we'll create a new database here. We're going to call it WP Demo. Of course, yours will probably have a different name because it's specific to your particular installation. So don't worry about this. You can put anything in this field to customize it as long as it makes sense to you. Let's create this database. And you'll notice the full name of the database is this. So the hosting will usually prepend something to the name that you put in to avoid any potential conflicts with other users that might have the same database name. So at this point, what I want to do is make a little note that my database name is this. And copy paste is your friend. It avoids any unfortunate typos when transcribing stuff from one window to another. Let's go back. We're not completely done here yet. The next step is to create a user that can access this particular database. So again, we would proceed with adding a new user or assigning an existing one if you already have one. So username, again, it could be anything. We'll call it WP user. Assign a password that's fairly secure. In this particular case, I'll keep it simple. For the sake of this demo. Okay. And we'll go ahead and create this user. Again, make sure you keep track of this information because we'll be needing it later on during the WordPress install. And make sure you also save the password. Something way more secure than this, please. Now we've created the database, we've created the user. What we want to do is assign this user to this particular database. As we scroll a bit down, add a user to database. This is where we want to go, right here. So the user and the database, if you've never used this before, these are the only entries in here. You might have other databases and users from other projects. Make sure you choose the right ones. When we click on add, we'll be presented with a screen that asks us what kind of privileges are needed. We want to assign all. Make those particular changes, and you should have the confirmation message that everything went well and the operation completed successfully. This is probably the hardest part of this entire procedure. We're pretty much done with this in cPanel, so we can go back to the main window and just leave it open just in case. The next thing you probably want to do, if you haven't done it already, is download WordPress. So go to wordpress.org and /download and pick up the latest version of WordPress. And here it goes. It's a fairly small file size, 6.8 megs. And once the download completes, you want to go to the directory where it was downloaded and extract all the files that are in the zip file you just saved. So usually right click and there you go. You should have a folder that contains these particular files. Those are the files we're looking for. This is the WordPress core. And these are the ones that are going to be uploaded to the server. That's the next operation we're going to be doing. We're going to open up FileZilla. We're going to connect to our website via FTP protocol. So again, you'll need to create a new site. We'll call this my WordPress site. Host is the name of your website, your domain. So port, that'll get assigned automatically because you're choosing the FTP protocol. Encryption you can leave as default. Logon type you want to choose normal, which allows you to enter your username and your password. Now this isn't the username and password for the database, it's the username and password to access your web host. So it's usually your account that you're accessing. Click on connect, and once you successfully connect, you should have something that looks like this on the other end. The folders where you want to upload the file sometimes are called www, sometimes it's called public HTML. Most web hosting companies will have both. These are interchangeable, either or, they both go to the same place, so it's totally up to you. You'll notice though that the www is a shortcut, it's an alias that goes to public HTML, so this is probably the real folder you should choose. Once in public HTML, you should not see too many things if you don't have any website already. And this is the folder that you want to upload WordPress in if you want it to be available at the root as soon as people get to the website. For example, if I go to the website right now with no files there, I get nothing. I just get a directory listing because there's nothing there. If I transfer now the files I downloaded, in the left window over here, I'll browse in my computer, get downloads. Here's the WordPress folder, and these are the files that I'm specifically looking for. So shift and click to select everything and just drag them over. This will install WordPress in the root of our drive. You can also create a folder and transfer the files in there, at which point that'll be a subdirectory which will host your WordPress site. That allows you to have multiple WordPress installations. I'm going to install it into the root. The transfer will take about 5 to 7 minutes. Be patient, go grab some coffee, nothing else to do here while this happens. Just keep an eye out and make sure everything goes smoothly. If you occasionally get an indication that there are duplicate files, just click OK. Sometimes it just gets a little enthusiastic and should be okay. So take a quick break or keep an eye out and make sure everything's going all right, and just be patient while it uploads. So the transfer is almost done over here, just a few files left before everything's complete. I suggest that you really wait for all the files to transfer before checking out the site again. The reason being that triggering an installation without all the files having transferred might cause some technical problems. Once the transfer is complete, let's switch back to the browser over here. And now if we go back to our domain and refresh, there you go. We should be presented with the initial installation folder for WordPress. Let's choose our language here and continue. Just a little checklist to make sure we got everything we need to proceed. Let's go. So database name, a good thing we copied that over, because after the file transfer I would have forgotten. Username, same thing, copy paste. If I make an error at this point and I click submit, it's not the end of the world. It just basically tells me, okay, something went wrong, error establishing a database connection, and it proposes a couple of things that I could check to make sure. Click try again, double check your information, make sure it matches the database information that we created a bit earlier. In this particular case, my password was wrong, so let's update that. Database host is localhost. You can leave that as is, and the table prefix is WP_, that you can leave as is as well. It's just WordPress will create some entries in the database using those characters. So click on submit, and there you go. Once all the information is correct, you should have the confirmation message that says you've succeeded, and now you can continue with finalizing the installation. The rest at this point is pretty much paint by numbers. Fill in the blanks, your site title, your username, and a password that should be secure enough that will make it difficult for anybody trying to guess it. So put in your email address, and you are good to go. Once that's done, you can log in and fire up the WordPress dashboard, and that's all there is to it. If there are any questions, anything that is unclear, please post them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer or clarify any of the areas that were hard to get through. Thanks for following along. Talk to you soon.